So just a few minutes ago on Twitter, Donald Trump went on another one of his famous unhinged rants, this time against the supposed left-wing radical indoctrination on university, college, and school campuses all across the United States. His argument is that right now, universities and colleges and school systems are teaching children to hate America, and they're teaching children to dislike Donald Trump and Republicans and conservatism. And he feels that because they're taking openly political stances, it's time to remove their tax-exempt status, whatever that even means. So Trump says the following: too many universities and school systems are about radical left indoctrination, not education. Therefore, I am telling the Treasury Department to re-examine their tax-exempt status and or funding, which will be taken away if this propaganda or act against public policy continues. Our children must be educated, not indoctrinated. And so you can see what Donald Trump is doing right here. This is even more than usual from a Republican, an attack on the concept of education. Because here's the deal. There's no such thing as an endemic left-wing radical university educational system. It just doesn't exist. You can probably acknowledge that on the whole, many universities have socially progressive values, that they're probably more LGBTQ friendly than Donald Trump and the Republicans and other right-of-center groups would like. Just for an example, they might be more gender egalitarian. But at the end of the day, universities, just like the wider economy, are dyed-in-the-wool neoliberal right-of-center institutions when it comes to workers' rights, when it comes to integrating themselves in the capitalist economy, when it comes to silencing left-wing voices on critical issues that challenge, the fundamental bases of capitalist society and of American imperialism that talk about, let's say, Palestine. There is tons of, censorship and oppression of views on university campuses, but they're mostly aimed at the actual radical left, what you might call the radical left. And so what this is, beyond the fact that there's been no actual evidence that this is policy being explored, Trump seems to be ranting about it. Maybe he'll address it later on. Maybe he'll forget about it like he often does. But what it really does show is that when we're having this debate about free speech or about cancel culture, that we've gotten it all wrong. It's not the woke left. It's not the PC left that's actually doing the canceling or threatening the canceling. It's actually conservatives on the center right to some degree, but especially as you move further and further right. It's Donald Trump here basically saying that if you don't stop teaching American history with facts, that if you don't stop actually covering social and political and economic issues as they exist in your classrooms and in your campus debates, if you don't stop telling the truth, because Trump wants you to stop teaching the truth, I will cut your funding. Trump is basically going out and saying that education as it exists, he says in many places, he might mean the majority of places, actually is propaganda, actually is lies. Not just fake news now, fake education. And so what Trump is saying is we're going to financially punish through state force, through direct state preference making, which universities and schools and colleges get funding and or tax exemption and which don't, which is as close to censorship and the government silencing of free speech as you can get, except for the fact that they'd be closing schools down or literally burning books, etc. That's what Donald Trump is trying to do here. He's effectively trying to ban free speech that disagrees with him on university campuses. All the horror speak from conservatives here on YouTube, from Tim Pool to Ben Shapiro to Dave Rubin and so many others, about how the radical left, quote unquote, is silencing conservative voices for free speech on the campuses. When you have the actual literal president saying on Twitter that he is basically going to bankrupt institutions, shut down institutions financially, which is in effect the state shutting them down literally, because they teach quote-unquote left-wing indoctrination. They're indoctrinating our students. They're propagandizing our students. And we have to put a stop to it. And this is even going on in the context of this current crisis. Because what Donald Trump is saying is not only that these educational programs are bad, but simultaneously, whenever they disagree with me about anything, they're a danger to the republic and to the recovery it needs. Donald Trump, while he's saying this, has also been saying, and some Republican governors have been saying, that if schools don't fully, without restrictions, reopen in August and September, when they normally would for the school year, they're going to lose funding. He's going to quote-unquote punish these schools in their effort to educate children safely because, and here's the deal, Donald Trump, Betsy DeVos, these folks, they don't give one single damn about your education or about your children's education unless you're part of the 1% or 0.1% or 0.01%. They do not care about public education. They just don't. They care about their private schools, and they care about their elite public schools with good zip codes, and they care about their elite private universities that all their children go to, that they went to, that people like them go to. Public schools for them are warehouses for you and your children and what have you when the rest of the people need to go to work. So what Donald Trump is doing here, he's devaluing education on both ends. On the one hand, he wants you to think that education as it exists is fundamentally about teaching your children to hate America. And on the other, he wants the schools, these very same indoctrination factories, to be open full-time without restrictions, no matter how dangerous, to the children, the teachers, the other workers, and to everyone that those people in subsequent terms meet. He wants you to send them back. Because if the kids can't go back to daycare and elementary school and to some degree high school, then the economy can't reopen. And so that's what this is all about. It's all about warehousing your children in the supposed indoctrination factories. So don't forget comments like this from Trump and other Republicans. They do not care about education. They see education as serving two overarching purposes. One, to warehouse children so that workers can go be exploited in dangerous, underpaid work without any protection during this crisis, and two, as a tool to further their own ideological goals. You don't hear left-wing academics, you don't hear left-wing politicians trying to shut down universities, trying to pull funding from universities that say teach capitalist economics. You don't see that. You only see Donald Trump and Republicans trying to silence entire universities and school boards because of what they say. So when you hear right-wingers whine about free speech, whine about, free ideas being exchanged on universities, remind them that there's only one political party in the United States and there's only one ideology in the United States that wants to defund schools unless they teach what they want to hear. And it's not the Democrats and it's not the left.